Isabelle had always been captivated by Jonathan. His charm, his smile, the way he carried himself. She longed for him in ways she couldn't fully express. But every time she gathered the courage to approach him, his indifference pierced her heart. One day, after weeks of avoiding him, she ran into him unexpectedly. Her heart raced, and she couldn't help but ask, "How have you been?" But all she really wanted to say was, "I've missed you so much." Jonathan, oblivious to the pain behind her words, replied coldly, "I'm fine. And you?" His lack of emotion cut her deeply, and she felt herself shrink inside. "I'm okay," she whispered, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill from her eyes. He noticed the tension in the air and asked, "Is there something you wanted to tell me?" Isabelle's mind raced. She had so much to say, but fear and doubt held her back. "No, I need to go," she stammered, turning away before the tears could betray her. Days passed in a blur of sorrow and regret. Isabelle's world grew darker with each passing hour. Then, one day, her phone rang, and it was Jonathan on the other end. Hope flickered in her heart as she answered, trying to sound composed. "I need to see you," he said, his voice steady. Isabelle's heart soared. Finally, she thought, he must have realized he loves me. She dressed in her finest, her hands trembling as she imagined how he might confess his love. When they met, Jonathan was quiet, his face unreadable. After a long silence, he spoke. "I need to tell you something important." Isabelle felt a rush of anticipation, lowering her gaze with a shy smile. But the words that followed shattered her hopes into 1,000 pieces. "I know you care for me," Jonathan began, "and I appreciate it, but I'm in love with someone else. I'm getting married soon." His words struck her like a thunderbolt. Isabelle's world crumbled. She couldn't hold back the sobs that erupted from her chest. "No, I don't care about you. I never did," she lied, fleeing from him as fast as her legs could carry her. For weeks, Isabelle locked herself away from the world, refusing to eat, sleep, or speak to anyone. The pain was unbearable. Then, one day, Jonathan called again. "My wedding is soon. I want you to come," he said, his voice gentle. "You're important to me, even if not as a lover. Please, be there as my friend." Isabelle was torn. How could she watch the man she loved marry someone else? But she also felt a twisted sense of duty, a need to prove to herself that she could survive this. She decided to go. On the day of the wedding, Isabelle dressed in a gown that made her look like a vision, but inside, she was dying. Her heart felt like it was being slowly crushed, every breath a struggle. As she arrived at the grand church, she saw Jonathan, beaming with happiness. But when she saw his bride, her heart stopped. It was Victoria, an old friend she had cut ties with long ago, a woman who cared only for luxury and status. Isabelle's world spun as she realized the depth of her despair. How could he choose her? She thought. She'll never love him like I do. Overcome with grief, Isabelle ran out into the street, her vision blurred by tears. In her anguish, she didn't see the car speeding toward her. The last thing she heard was the screech of tires before everything went black. Jonathan's life after the wedding was a descent into misery. Victoria, as Isabelle had feared, cared nothing for him. She spent his money lavishly, ignored him, and eventually, when his business failed, she left him. Without a second thought, desperate and alone, Jonathan realized too late that the one woman who truly loved him was gone forever. He tried to reach out to Isabelle, but her phone was disconnected. He went to her home, hoping to beg for her forgiveness, to tell her that he had finally seen the light, that he wanted to be with her, and only her. But when he arrived, Isabelle's mother greeted him with tearful eyes. "She's gone," her mother whispered, her voice trembling. "She died on the day of your wedding. She was calling your name as she ran into the street.